welcome back to my channel. My name is Aireonna, joined by Steph Sanchez on the first day of legal tampering period, which I always find so funny because everyone knows that it unofficially starts at the combine. That's why Mike Evans got his deal done a couple days ago and stuff. But it's been a really eventful day. Honestly, been a lot of fun. I think just as a fan of the NFL and not just the 49ers, but just players in general, I think it's exciting to have stuff to talk about and look forward to and to be clicking on, is this Adam Schefter or breaking news? What's going on? But something that is official, verified, 49ers breaking news signing Leonard Floyd. How did you feel about this signing? Formerly with the Bills, but then prior to that, won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Did really well against the 49ers. But first, let's get your takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I would have put Leonard Floyd as one of the maybe like second tier, but top of the second tier pass rushers available for the 49ers. I think he would probably be a situational pass rusher for the 49ers. And I would even say, like, I don't think this means the 49ers are done at edge. Like, I don't think this is their premier edge rushing signing to be
Okay.
opposite Nick Bosa. Like, I would expect Floyd to be a rotational guy, and he's a really good rotational guy for the 49ers, or I would expect him to be. I mean, that's kind of the role he played with the Bills. And then prior to that, he was an every down player with the Rams. And of course, the Brandon Staley connection is there. So that was his best season, actually. But I think the 49ers don't need to put all their eggs in the Leonard Floyd basket. And I think that'll just keep him probably more effective as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at the signing. Like I said, I don't think the 49ers are done. You have Daniel Hunter, who's still out there, and I still expect the 49ers to be in play for him as well. You know, my expectation. Okay. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of I'm just kind of I don't think they're done. That's what I want to say, is that I don't think they're done. We heard earlier this morning that the 49ers were in on Christian Wilkins, who was the top defensive tackle, that was available in free agency. So they're going big fish hunting, I think, in free agency. They've been quiet, right? But there's still some big names out there for them. And so, yeah, I would still expect that to be in play, just because I don't think the 49ers are messing around.
I definitely don't think so either. Really quickly, I just had to read this one off. Love Steph, but can she do a Joey Bosa impersonation? We'll definitely get to the Bosa talk in a little bit, but just a little bit more about Leonard Floyd for people who don't know. This is from David Lamarty, but he says Floyd is 6'5", 240 pounds with a quick first step, good bend, and explosive. He has almost 40 sacks in the last 4 seasons with 39.5 sacks in 4 seasons, and is one of 3 players with 9+ sacks in the last 4 straight seasons. So that means he's had 9 sacks in 4 seasons in a row, which is really good, joining Myles Garrett and Hassan Reddick. So that sounds exciting. Now, I was a little bit confused, and maybe you can clarify. There's some people in the comments that said, enjoy free agency responsibly. I screenshotted something. It was from the real Matt Mayoko, but he said the 49ers have turned in no transactions to the legal office today. Is that just because nothing's due until Wednesday, or why is that? That came out after the Leonard,
like, he left us in suspense there. No, he did follow that tweet up by saying that 49ers and Leonard Floyd have reached an agreement on a 2-year deal. And he said the earliest the deal can become official is Wednesday, when the free agent signing period opens. So, I mean,
he was just messing with us.
We've seen some crazy things happen, like, in free agency, where a player agrees to sign with a team, but then they back out of it, right? So it's still possible that can happen in this case, but as of right now, he's agreed to sign with the 49ers. So
Okay, that makes sense. And I did want to, because I think 49ers, they seem to take a liking to players that did well against them. So Floyd's last game versus the 49ers was in 2002. He had 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 QB hits, and 2 tackles for loss against the 49ers. So we can see why maybe John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan had a liking for him. Additionally, like you said, his best year being with Brandon Staley, and Staley joining the 49ers staff. So I think it definitely does also make a big deal when you play well against the team and they see that potential and maybe think that they can bring more of that out of you. Um, and then Rich Madrid, who I always feel like is good. He kind of pointed out what you said and said Floyd was an every down player for the Rams, but only basically a pass rush specialist, say that 5 times fast, for the Bills, coming in on second and third and long, but not sure that he's someone the 49ers would want to make an every down player. He's not very good versus the run. So some interesting, seems like a really good player, but I agree with you, maybe not, because I've heard some people maybe saying they're a bit underwhelmed. My initial reaction was I thought it was a really good player, really good price for a good player.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know John Lynch did come out, and I think it was Mike Silver also came out and talked about the 49ers making a big signing. So if there was an opportunity to get a guy like Danielle Hunter, potentially they still would go after someone like him and really secure up that spot. I would hope. I will say I like the Leonard Floyd, and I know we can maybe talk about him a little bit, but I heard a lot of the Joey Bosa rumors. I went on Instagram, saw Nick and Joey Bosa's mom posting
Mhm.
pictures of Joey Bosa in a 49ers uniform, posting pictures of Nick and Joey together, talking about how she'd love for her sons to play on the same team. All of that, which of course I think any mom would, but I think that definitely created some spark in the fan base. I know nothing about Joey as a person. Sure, he's a great person. The My problems was Joey Bosa has struggled with injury a ton, and he's outwardly criticized Brandon Staley pretty strongly. So I didn't really understand that signing. So I'm not saying it's this or that, but if it was something where it's Leonard Floyd above Joey Bosa, I think I would prefer a guy like Leonard Floyd. But I
Yeah,
don't know how
the
you
the
feel.
value I think that Leonard Floyd brings that not a lot of people are really, the people who are kind of disappointed by this signing aren't looking at is the fact that he's been pretty durable in his career. So that's definitely a huge plus for the
Yeah.
49ers. They've had, the guys that they have tried to plug in at times at that spot opposite Nick Bosa has ended up, with injury. We had Drake Jackson, Clinton Farrell late in the season with an injury. So a guy who's going to be durable and hopefully be healthy most, if not all season, I think is great value, especially for the price that you're paying. And as you mentioned, Ashley, just the fact that he's been pretty consistent as well, like having 9
Mhm.
sacks for the last few seasons. That's pretty difficult to do, and only a few players have achieved
Giving a
that
guy
as
like
pass
that
rushers.
to Chris Kosarek is also,
Yeah.
exciting. Obviously, that doesn't mean everything, but I do feel like the 49ers, if we think about, bringing a guy like Charles Omenihu or someone in, like, they have success a lot of times with bringing out the best in players, and this guy is already, in my opinion, a step above maybe where guys like that are starting. So if they could kind of bring out more consistency, or not more, like, more consistency within his play. Obviously, him being consistent on the field is going to be the most important, and the way that you really practice that. When we talk about guys like, Javon Kinlaw, I think a lot of what we've talked about is just like he hasn't had enough time on the field to really implement everything that he's learning and to practice it over and over again, and stuff like that. Now, obviously he's a little bit older, but it was only a 2-year
Yeah.
deal, right? Yeah, it was only a
Yeah,
2-year deal. I don't know. I think it was
just a
great for the
2-year.
49ers, like value-wise, when you're seeing some of these guys getting 110, 100 million dollar deal. I know that, Christian Wilkins better, different caliber player, but still that's a ton of money. But yeah, really quickly, let me look over at the comments and see what people are saying because that's
Yeah,
the
actually,
biggest news.
just as you were
Yeah, yeah.
talking, Juwan Jennings got tendered, the second round tender,
I
so
love that.
that is probably a good
That makes me
sign
happy.
that Juwan Jennings will be back. Now,
I think so too.
being that he's a restricted free agent, there's still a chance that another team could swoop in. But I feel like for another team, that second round tender, they might feel like that's a little too rich.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good chance that Juwan Jennings is back with the 49ers this season.
Okay, see, I really like that. I think that that's a great deal, especially. I mean, I'm gonna ask because I think people's first reaction is gonna be, what does this mean for the wide receivers that they have right now? What does this mean for BA and Debo Samuel? But I'm looking when I look at the. Oh, maybe not. Does that keep him for more for 2025 or just for 1 year?
Just for one season,
Just
so
for
just
one
this
season?
upcoming season, and then
I don't
after
know. I
that,
think
he
they're
becomes
going.
an unrestricted free agent.
Dang. Okay, I
They can
still.
still work on a deal, like, they can
Yeah,
still like, this kinda buys them time to potentially work on an extension, so, um, yeah, I would say that's
I
still on
love
the
having
table.
I love having a guy like JJ on the
Yeah.
team. I think he's been so underrated. This year was probably his most like non-underrated, like he really showed out. I was saying if they would have won that Super Bowl, he would have been Super Bowl MVP. But
Yeah.
they call him third and Jawan, right? And I think it's a lot of times because guys are using, all their resources to stop Debo Samuel, to cover Brandon Ayuk, and it lets JJ kind of get open. But it's not that he only gets open because people are forgetting about him. Then you add on, he's so physical in the blocking game. Once he gets the ball, he usually gets some extra yards. He's made, especially this year, I felt like he had some highlight level plays. Obviously, maybe just like raw talent wise, not at the level as like Debo or Ayuk, but like the heart that he puts into it is so 49er. It's so what they, preach and what they want out of their guys. So I think if they're able to keep a guy like that around, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of
Now,
JJ and
do you think
bringing him back for sure.
Do you think that that second round tender is too much? Because I do remember, I think it was Jose that I was talking to, Jose Sanchez, uh, not related, but but I think he was saying that he thought maybe that was going to be a bit much, but I thought that that made sense. So are you behind giving him the second round tender?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's 4.89 million this
Okay.
season. And I think that's fine. I mean, that's partially for the right to keep him for another year,
Yeah.
right? Like, or not partially. That is the reason you're paying him that much. So, yeah, I think for the reasons that you mentioned, like he is important to this team. I think the 49ers find him very valuable, especially like the blocking aspect. You know that Kyle Shanahan values someone who can block as good as Juwan Jennings can. He's been very consistent as well. And so yeah, I think it's fair value for him.
I love that. And when you something else we can talk about that came out today, but actually happened earlier this week was that Fred Warner got I felt like I made a little thing. Fred Warner got his contract. It wasn't, what is it called when they convert some of your salary to bonus? It's not like a
Like a
extension. It's just.
restructure?
Yeah, yeah, right? Am I saying that
Yeah,
correctly? I
it's a
don't wanna be
restructure.
using the wrong terminology because it's not like they added to his contract, but they just converted some of his salary into signing bonuses, and that actually freed up, I think it was a little over $10 million. So stuff like that is what helps, them be able to give JJ that second round tender, which I think is awesome. Also, congratulations to Fred Warner. I saw him and his wife had a baby, I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Just saw that that was happening. I think Fred Warner is gonna, if it would be up to me, I think he should retire a 49er. Um, unbelievable spokesperson for the team. I think represents the team well, and then also incredible player. But when we're talking about people who, long time with the team, potentially thought that they were going to retire 49ers, this was announced late last night. What was your opinion on the Arik Armstead news? Now, as Mayoko pointed out, nothing is 100,000% official, but it was announced that Arik Armstead was going to test free agency. If this was going to free up a ton of cap space for the 49ers, I think I would have understood it, only because I think he's played 13 games in the last 2 seasons. So although an incredible player when on the field, also you have to think about the sacrifice he made in the playoffs this year and in the Super Bowl this year, playing not only through his plantar fasciitis, but with a torn MCL.
Mm-hmm.
Just incredible. A great human being. I think it was 4 years in a row he was nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Done a ton for the Bay Area and for Sacramento. Seems like a really good person, not just player, but also a very underrated player. I think, in the statistics, he doesn't always show up, but I think he's created a ton of opportunity for other players on the defensive line, and the 49ers will definitely miss a guy like him. Considering injury, if it would have freed up a ton of cap space, I think I would have understood it. The reason I'm confused is I think letting him go right now only frees up $2 million, and that doesn't seem like enough money for them to let him walk. Do you understand really what's happening with the Arik Armstead thing and why they're letting him test free agency if it's only that much of a difference on the cap hit?
Yeah, so I mean, and just going back to the original report, it was that like he was approached on taking a significant pay cut. Um,
Yeah.
he didn't
Which probably
agree.
didn't make him happy after he just
Yeah.
made that giant sacrifice.
He didn't, yeah, exactly. He didn't agree to that. I think they were still trying to work something out, but basically they probably gave him an ultimatum of, either take this pay cut or we have to let you go. And that's why in Jordan Schultz's original report it said Arik Armstead decides to test free agency. It's weird to use that wording
Yeah, it
for a
was a
player
weird.
that's still under contract, but that's basically what he was alluding to, I believe. And I think that's been also confirmed by some of the local beat writers. So yeah, he didn't want to take a pay cut. Good on him. I mean, I think it's fair for him to want to get his money. And if the
Especially
49ers
seeing
aren't
how much
willing,
players are
yes,
making.
yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's another team who would be willing to pay that. Now, as far as the designation goes, yes, pre June 1st, not a lot of cap relief for the 49ers. So a lot of people are, at this point, it's all just speculation because we don't have anything from the actual team or any actual concrete report about when this release would occur. But the expectation or the speculation is that it would be a post June 1st release, and then that would really be the only way it makes sense for the 49ers, because then they would get
Yeah.
more cap relief in the move. If they do it pre June 1st, there's a dead cap hit that's pretty high, and so it would make little to no sense for the 49ers. But for the 49, I don't think it's very surprising that, a player like Arik Armstead, who was slated to get paid as much as he was, this season, was called upon to potentially take a pay cut. That's kind of the risk that the 49ers have had to take, right? Like with the restructures they've done. He was a player they restructured, I believe, like once or twice in the past couple years.
Yeah.
So
Pushing that money
that
back.
that all comes to catch up. And so yeah, it caught up to the 49ers. They had to make a tough decision. So nothing is official yet. I think there's still a chance that, he even could return to the team if, maybe he hears from other, teams he's not liking that value, or, he's not
That makes sense.
expecting,
Yeah.
like if his numbers out there in free agency aren't as high as he expected them to be potentially, I don't see why not he wouldn't come back to the 49ers. or then agree to some type of restructure pay cut. But yeah, it's still up in the air. I guess that one's not really final, but yeah, I expect that move to happen in any case.
I imagine that he'll find a contract larger than that in free agency, mostly just because I feel like in free agency, guys get overpaid. Like, I think that's pretty standard just for all guys, just because how often does a guy, I know he's injured and missed a lot of games, but of Arik Armstead's caliber when he's playing, how often does a guy like that come available? Not often. This is a side note that I just thought about myself was I wonder, and potentially you didn't think I kind of wasn't sure if he would come back anyways, but do you think that this would sway Javon Kinlaw into coming back or not coming back? Because I was kind of I was talking about this with Jose, and I thought that it was pretty likely that Javon Kinlaw would get maybe above $4.5 million from a different team. Jose thought he would get under that and come back to the 49ers. I said I could see him taking, if it's like a $5 million difference, taking a deal to stay with the 49ers just because he's finally getting in this rhythm and routine where he's finally healthy, maybe wants to keep the structure that he's been in. And I know he's felt really connected to Arik Armstead, not just like as a player, but as a friend. I know when they released that video of Armstead with the Walter Payton
Hmm.
Man of the Year award, Javon Kinlaw was kind of tearing up, saying he doesn't know where he would be in his career in the NFL without Armstead. I think he literally might have said, like, I'm going to try to follow you wherever you go. At the time, it felt like more like in a life way he was saying that. But I don't know. Do you think that letting a guy like Armstead go, him being such a stalwart of the team, such like a leader, does that affect any of the players on the team, or do they all kind of see, okay, it's a business, he's getting paid a lot, he's an older player missing games, or do you think that people maybe side eye the organization, longest tenured player, excellent, when he's on the field, played through injury, like how do other players see this move, do you think?
I think for the free agents, I think it might give them a feeling of, okay, it's probably time to move on. Let's see where Eric goes, or, something like that. It reminds me of Jimmy Ward, right? Similar situation, close to 10 years with the org. And, when he left, it was kind of a big deal. I mean, he was seen as a leader for this team. And, I think that off season, as we do a lot of off seasons, like we saw a lot of guys leave, a lot of defensive players as well. So it could be the same for Eric. I mean, I think, yeah, you mentioned Kinlaw. I think that's someone who is very close with Eric, and that could definitely sway him to. I mean, he's already testing free agency, but it can sway him
Yeah.
to, you know, take another offer to a specific team, maybe, just if Eric goes to that same team, maybe. But there's also other connections out there. I mean, the Robert Saleh connection with the Jets, the D'Amico connection with the Texans. I mean, that's a great place to be. I think either one of those teams could be in play for a guy like Kinlaw and or Arik Armstead. So, yeah, I mean, I think as far as Kinlaw returning to San Francisco, I I would be open to it at the right price. I was actually surprised because sometime last week, Tim K and Matt Barrows were together on a podcast, and they both kind of agreed that, yeah, I think Javon Kinlaw actually gets more than a lot of people expect or would expect him to get. So that's
I
kind of
hope
stuck
so,
into
because
my
I
mind.
made a bet. I hope so, because I made a bet with Jose that I thought he was gonna get over 4,000,000, and Jose was like, "No way," and I was like, "I think he will." I think first round pick still has, like, a lot of the physical attributes that people were looking for. I know, he suffered with injuries a lot, but finally had a healthy year and actually showed, a lot of progress during that year. I think that there's gonna be a team that'll take a chance on giving him, I'm not saying, like, humongous deal, but maybe a bigger deal than the 49ers are willing to give him. So
So the Panthers just traded Brian Burns to the Giants. It was official.
no! To the Giants? Why?
The
That's such a
Giants.
waste.
I know. I'm like, man, let that guy go to a good team.
Yeah, like put him on the Bills or something, Or on the 49ers, but at the same time, 49ers fans like, excuse me.
Let me see the compensation if we
Yeah,
have
let me know
news
that.
on that.
That's just weird. Didn't Christian Wilkins went to like the Raiders too, right? I didn't
So
understand that. I know that they have the Raiders are going to be such an interesting team, right? Because they have Max Crosby, now they have Christian Wilkins, so they're going to have like a good defense, and then they're going to have like a QB battle between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner
Minshew.
Minshew.
Hey, I mean, we'll
Interesting,
see. Yeah,
interesting stuff
so
going on there.
so the
Somewhere
Panthers
Brad
send
Graham is throwing up. He's so angry.
the Panthers send Brian Burns to the Giants for a second and a fifth rounder. It says a second and fifth rounders, so I don't know if that's multiple fifth rounders. Um,
Seems like not that much.
and he got a deal 5 years, 150 million with 87.5 million guaranteed.
Why didn't the 49ers do
That's
that?
definitely more than the more I think the 49ers could afford, but yeah.
Why? I feel like if is it spread out? It's they just couldn't do it money-wise? I feel
I
like
mean,
that's
that's a
not even
lot
that much.
guaranteed. I mean, as far as guarantees go, that's quite a bit,
But
but I
he's
don't
a
know.
little bit younger. Brian Burns is
Yeah,
younger.
it's like 25 or
So
something.
not only are you going like I think the 49ers are, when you're talking about like re-signing JJ and stuff like that, like they're definitely going all in for next year. But also if they keep Ayuk, I think they're trying to free up probably space to be able to sign Brock Purdy next year. Bringing in a guy like Brian Burns would have been great.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
I
know
don't
why.
know.
I thought that it would have taken like a first, a second, and a fifth. That's kind of like I understand that sometimes I think teams trade less when they end up having to pay them as well, but not as much as I would have thought. See, what could the Giants give the Panthers to make that move? I felt like not that much. And then I wanted to say hi, Salty, because he said, "Hey, Ash and Steph, Salty in the house." Um, so interesting. Poor Brad Graham, he's probably very upset. um, but still no moves made on Daniil Hunter. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of 49er fans might still have their fingers crossed for that one coming out. Dang, I don't really understand the money thing. Can't they just like space it out?
I mean,
I'm someone
I'm
that
no
thinks it's
cap
half the
guru,
space, but
so
I'm obviously wrong because they just cut Armstead for $2 million. So what the hell do I know? No, can I ask you a question about this? And maybe you don't know. Um, but you were saying like the post June designation.
mhm.
You can just do that at any time? Like, they can just be like, "Oh, like, even though we're cutting you now, that's, like, what we're gonna call it?" Why does
Yeah,
that
I think and don't quote me on this. But based on some tweets that I saw, and I hopefully I'm not misunderstanding. I think that if you set it for June
anyone make
for a
sure to
post
quote
June
Steph on this.
1st designation, you don't get that cap relief until then.
Okay, so you can't use that money until then, but then what
Yeah.
they could do is at the trade deadline that's in the middle of the year, they could end up getting someone. Is that what that means? Which they tend
Yeah,
to
I
do.
mean,
Usually they
yeah, I
utilize
mean,
that.
theoretically, yeah, they would have a surplus of money after June 1st, which is,
'Cause my
that's
thing is, like, what's the
it's
point of
still the off
that?
season.
What's the point of that if there's, I hate that we keep getting old defensive linemen. Floyd is consistent, though, I guess. I wanted to read, did it go away? Leonard Floyd has played in 108 straight games. He hasn't missed a single game since 2017. Don't
Yeah.
overlook that level of durability. So I think it's understandable that the 49ers would want to target a guy. I know that his age is a thing that obviously Golden State Niner is pointing out. Bundy, on the other hand, says he likes the signing. I think it's a good move. Knock on wood that he's able to keep up that consistency. 9 sacks in four straight seasons is good production, especially being that he wasn't on the field the entire time while getting that production is also impressive. And then not missing, I think the 49ers are starting to maybe prioritize health with this team, and knowing that they've really struggled in that area, kind of especially on that defensive line. Maybe that's a bigger priority to them than it was before. I think I know that Golden State 49er pointed out the age, but it's only a 2-year contract and it's pretty affordable. So I think I think if it was like a 4-year, 5-year deal, you might be like, oh, what the hell? But 2 years isn't, that much, in my opinion. It's more of
Yeah,
a move for this year, and
and I'd have
cheap
to
on the
look at the
contract next
actual
year.
like details of the contract, but it could even be like that the 49ers have an out after the first year, right? So, I mean, that's
Mm.
possible too. I think, this is to me a mid-risk move for the 49ers.
I agree. And Tribe, I'm bummed about Armstead in the human way. I think he seems like a good human. I also am bummed about him in the player production way, because even just now when I was talking about Leonard Floyd in my head, I was kind of like, see, like they need these healthy players, but then you think of a guy like Armstead who wasn't healthy, but then showed up and played, and not even played, like played really well in the Super Bowl, like played extremely well without an MCL. I'm bummed about it too. Like I said, if it ends up being a post June designation and they save like 12 or whatever $1 million, I think that is worth it. If it's something where they only save $2 million, then I really don't understand it. And I think maybe we'll learn more about that when it gets all finalized. Basically, a 1-year deal with 12 million guaranteed if they bail out after year 1 is I think Leonard Floyd's deal that Uncle Salty might be talking to you about. And then this is interesting. Have you heard about the Trey to, oh my gosh, screw Trey. Have you heard about the Kirk Cousins is just the biggest finesser ever in the NFL? He's a good quarterback, but he's, by the end of his career, gonna make, I was just reading it earlier, like the exacts, but it's like $411 million. Crazy.
I
Kirk
mean,
Cousins, man. That's
teams
so sick.
pay a
He's a
premium
success.
for
Who's his agent?
quarterbacks.
I need to go. Everyone, if I was in the NFL, I'm knocking, calling. What did you do? How'd you do it? Please help me. Everyone is getting underpaid. If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm like, why? Brady's somewhere sitting at home, like, I'm gonna rejoin. I'm joining a team this year. There's no way that Kirk Cousins is gonna leave with this much more money than me. Corey Soto said, Ashley, we're broke. Which is funny. Me too. I can relate. Me and the 49ers both. But I do want to talk to you about this because I was talking to my dad about it right before this. By the way, thank you, Daddy. I went and visited my dad and he like made me some food and stuff. It was nice.
Nice.
But we were talking to him about, there seems like a lot of fans that are still interested in maybe getting to see Trey Lance play at some point. Do you have like any feelings towards that? Why do you think there's this fascination still? Is it just like people want to see, is he truly a bust, or will he work out? Why do you think there's this kind of intrigue into Trey still?
People
Just there
want to
was
be
so much
right.
hype.
People just
There's
want
so
to be
much hype.
right. That's it. That's all it is. They want to be
Yeah.
right about Trey and how loud they were about,
The praise
how
and
good he was going to be and all this stuff.
yeah.
So
The
I mean,
49ers,
I've moved
yeah.
forward from that.
I kind of feel
Yeah.
that way too. Like, I mean, if he ends up playing, I like to watch the NFL as a whole, not just, but I don't think I'll be like super, I mean, if he comes out and ends up being like a star crazy player, then I'd be like, wow, that sucks that happened. But I mean, right now it seems like if Trey did half of what Brock Purdy did, I feel like people would freak out, and Brock Purdy, like, I don't know, is record breaking right now. So Anyways, didn't mean to go on that little tangent, but I had seen it come up on Twitter, and then I wanted to really quickly, because I do know you have a show at 4, but there's also talks that the 49ers have asked Kyle Juszczyk to take a pay cut. I know that you and I talked about this.
That's not true. That's what came from
That's not true.
that came from the fake account, the fake Matt Mayoko
No,
account.
no, this has
I
been
think. Well, okay. So there was the fake Matt Mayoko account tweeted that they couldn't they couldn't come to an agreement, and then he was going to be
okay.
released.
No,
You're right.
wrong.
Sorry,
That
Ashley.
part's wrong.
Not me being fake news. No, they just yeah, I guess they have
Don't worry.
approached him
If I
on
Google
that.
it, the first thing that comes up is the fake account.
No way.
Jesus.
There's
Yeah,
no
that's
way.
like the very top one is
That
the
pisses
fake,
me
like,
off. That pisses
why?
me
Like,
off so
Twitter
bad.
needs
I
to
have
do
like the
better.
biggest pet peeve about that right now, and it's
Yes.
unhealthy actually, but um yeah, no, it
But
seems like
the
they did.
49ers did approach him
Yeah.
about a salary reduction in 2024, but they've made no agreement or disagreement yet. Which I think, to be fair, is something that everyone hypothesized would happen. Now, where it could be interesting is if Kyle Juszczyk says no or is willing to, like, because I don't think any team is going to want to give him what he's set to make, just because it's so much higher than any other fullback in the NFL. But he could take a lesser deal for a team like the Texans, like Miami, which, obviously both run similar offensive systems, but don't have any state income tax. However, I think Kyle really likes the 49ers. I'm assuming that they'll work it out, but I was not assuming that Arik Armstead was going to leave, so maybe I'm wrong. Are there any legs to the hypothesis that maybe Juice will end up looking around, or do you anticipate that they'll work out a deal?
So that one's interesting, right? Because yes, just the same as Arik Armstead, the report was that he was asked to take a significant pay cut, right? So just looking at, so David Lombardi earlier this morning tweeted out the average per year salaries of the other fullbacks. Alec in gold is getting 4.07 million, Patrick Ricard 3.75 million, Kyle Juszczyk 5.4 million. That's really not a huge difference. So if we're talking about significant, like, are the 49ers saying take less than either one of those guys, or
Because he might
be
be like,
around that
I'm better
range?
than
Because
them.
then
Yeah.
exactly, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, that could be a slight, like, to Juice, or he could take it as a slight, like,
Yeah.
hey, like, I'm
Now he
like you
is
said,
above
I'm better
30.
than them.
He is above 30, but I
Yeah.
remember, I think it was in his exit locker room interviews, someone even asked him, because he kind of had like a sentimental take. I think it was right before the Super Bowl. So someone asked him, like, "Oh, are you retiring? Like, are you thinking about retiring? What's going on?" And he was like, "Oh no, like I was just like appreciating." And he made it very clear. He was like, "My body feels as good as it's ever felt. I don't anticipate on, stopping playing for multiple more years. So I don't think he wants to go anywhere. I
We'll see.
agree with you. It will be interesting what kind of pay cut they're asking him to take, because people have talked a lot about how he should, cut all the way down to like $2 million because he's not owed anything, and they could cut him for like $1 million or something. Is that correct? Am I right on that? Like, he has no dead cap hit or something, right?
Yeah, I don't think the rest of his contract is, like, none of it's guaranteed anymore, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
But I don't know if you would want to, I don't know if you would want to, yeah, he has no money, fully guaranteed money left on his deal with the Niners. He doesn't have any leverage with the Niners. Maybe, but if the Niners want to keep him, that could be his leverage. It's just like, I'm a good player for you. Do you want to let me go? I don't know. I never really understand the leverage situation. It's not like he like Armstead could be like, okay, like it could be a mutual thing in that case. Like, I think I can get as good of a deal or better somewhere else. And if it's as good, maybe I can get it in a state where they're not going to take half of it away in taxes. I don't know. And just if you
Yeah.
insult the player, like depending on if they offered him $2 million, which is 2 million less than the next guy who he, might think he's better than, he might just based off of like a level of respect. I think some of these players kind of get insulted and they're like, all right, well now I don't want to play for you. So
Yeah. So we'll see what side of the coin, I guess, this Kyle Juszczyk thing falls in.
what are you anticipating? Are you anticipating that he'll work it out? Just like pure guessing.
I don't know. I don't know because it really comes down to Juice, I think, and what he wants, and I have no idea. I could see either scenario playing out, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Like, do you think he leaves? Do you think they work it out somehow?
I was thinking that he was gonna stay all the way until I saw the Armstead thing, and now I'm like, oh, maybe they're more open to kind of tearing apart not the foundation, but the you know eldest players than we thought. We kind of haven't seen Kyle Shanahan in this position yet, right? Where like now he's getting to the place where it's guys who have been here for a long time and he has to start making harder decisions. We haven't really seen him get here yet. We've seen him have to decide on like extending players or not, but like going up to these players that have pride and that have given a lot to this team.
Who you
and
went to
like,
Cabo
hey,
with?
Yeah, they didn't go to he didn't go to Cabo this year.
Not this year.
Maybe he's
No,
like,
not
I'm
this year.
gonna make you guys not very happy. I'm gonna stay in my office. I don't think this is the year to do that. But no, I want to say I think that they're gonna work it out. I know my dad, he's in the comments, he's a huge Jews fan. I think it'll really depend on how much they offer him. I think if it's something a little bit less, he'll probably stay. I think if it's significantly less and he can get something, because when I originally said Miami, I was like, well, Miami's cutting players because they don't have any money. But then I had the thought, well, if it's $2 million here and $2 million there, you'd rather be in a state, and I'm just using Miami as an example. There's other teams like this too, but if you're in a state that has less of the tax problem, I just don't know, right? Because we like to believe that everyone is a family and they all want to stay together. But then you kind of get into it and it's like people also care about their money, like they know when they don't.
Absolutely.
But
As they
Kyle
should.
Juszczyk, sorry for just turning my computer around. But Kyle Juszczyk's wife just signed a deal with the NFL. So maybe now he could, do a Brady when Brady was married to Giselle and be like, hey, I'm now I'm married. I'm married rich. So now I can take a deal for the 49ers. Because Christine
I'm married rich. She's like, I'm not the breadwinner anymore.
She just signed like a deal with the NFL to make clothes and stuff, which congratulations to her for that. She's very, very talented. But Steph, I know that you have a stream coming up. I just really quickly was looking at the comments to see if there's anything else that came out, but I think the last bit of the most breaking news was that Brian Burns situation. Everyone, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be going live tomorrow with Jose Sanchez. Can revisit that deal that I made with him. We made a bet on, like I said, I think it was Trevon Kinlaw. But I wonder if the Arik Armstead situation sways him at all and he's ready to just surrender to me being right, which I always am. Make sure to like and subscribe. There's going to be, I guarantee, more news is going to come out before we even go live tomorrow. And then make sure to not only like and subscribe here, but to go subscribe to Steph if you're not already from there. I know she's going to go live in like 10 minutes. So she's going to keep it rocking with you to see if the 49ers break any more news. Yes or no, they signed Danielle Hunter by the time we talk next week on Monday.
I hope so. I hope so. Let's see. We shall see.
So everyone knows it's not up to John Lynch, it's up to Steph. If it doesn't happen, we blame her. So have a great Monday, guys. I hope it's been fun for everyone. Make sure to check your sources before freaking out because